Who the F is Calia Menethil? Well, we know who she is in terms of lore. She is, in fact, the sister of the once famous, now a wisp, gone in the wind, Arthas Menethil. Let's talk about Platinum WoW's video here and see more about Calia Menethil and why he believes we need to know more about her.
In the somewhat recent lore developments in Warcraft's narrative, Sylvanas, the Banshee Queen, abandoned her people, the Forsaken, kind of leaving them to figure out what to do after their beloved queen, well, forsook them. They solved this by having a council of leaders, but also Calia Menethil was introduced in the story. But who is Calia Menethil? Why is she important? What is her story? Is she undead? Why does she look like that? Answers to most of these questions are either told to us in books or quests that are difficult.
It's honestly, that's messed up. A lot of people who didn't listen to the audio of the novel or anything, it's really, to me, it's a bad look for WoW. It's a bad thing for WoW that so much lore is told in books that are outside of the game. You would look at Calia without knowing anything from that book before the storm and think, who the hell is this pale, big booby chick who suddenly just showed up trying to lead the undead?
To find in game. So let's dive deep into a brief summary of this new significant character. Calia Menethil is the eldest child of King Tyrannus Menethil, and is the older sister of the infamous Arthas Menethil. Now, despite her being older, Prince Arthas was still going to take the throne instead of her. In her younger years, around 16, Calia was going to be forced to marry a noble named Deval Prestor. You know, she's royalty, and there's political reasons to marry someone from another noble group. But
of course.
The weird thing is, well, Deval Prestor was actually Deathwing in disguise, who is a dragon that has lived for over 10,000 years, and he's trying to marry a 16-year-old girl. Thankfully, their marriage was...
Well, I actually did not know this part of the lore. Damn. That's all I have to say. Damn, I didn't know Deathwing tried to marry Calia.
Never finalized when other aspects teamed up to beat the crap out of Deathwing during the Battle of Grim Patrol, and he had to retreat. Later in life, perhaps out of an act of defiance, Calia would marry a lowly footman and have a daughter with him. But neither of these characters have ever been given a name.
We don't even know who these people are.
Calia's husband and her child would live their lives away from Lordaeron, and her daughter would never know the birthright she has to the kingdom of Lordaeron. Which is probably a good thing, because during the Third War, Lordaeron was invaded by...
But hold on, wouldn't that make Calia's daughter the rightful heir to the throne of Lordaeron because she is still a living heir? Right? Because technically Calia lost her right to the throne when she died. I mean, most throne succession works in that the next living heir, and this is like literally, this is not just WoW, this is how it works in life. Your next living heir takes the throne, right? Calia is not living. She is no longer living. So she technically lost her right to the throne the day she died in the Arathi, Highlands, wherever that event occurred. So that would mean Calia's daughter technically has a right to the throne. Yeah, she would be the next living heir. I wonder if she's ever going to show up in game. We don't even know her name. That's crazy. She doesn't even know about her birthright, supposedly, but her father surely does. I mean, maybe he didn't know who Calia was, but he certainly got it on with her.
The Scourge, and Calia's brother, Arthas, murdered their father and brought the kingdom to ruin.
I'm sure he knows.
Calia fled the South Shore and was reunited with her family, and they lived happily ever after the end.
Unless this is something about the first male, right? Yeah.
No, of
well,
course.
It must be the first male, though, because Calia never had claim to the throne. When Arthas was Prince Arthas at the time, he was supposed to take the throne after his father. So you might be right. It might be the next born, the first male, and currently there are no living males. Based on the lore, so that could be it, Tundra. You may have solved the problem.
It isn't that easy. Later on during the war, South Shore was bombed with blight, and Calia had to flee and was separated by her family once again.
Hello.
Calia then bumps into Alonzus Fowl, who was formerly the Archbishop of the Church of the Holy Light. He explains to Calia that he is an undead called a Forsaken, who have retained their human consciousness after being raised into undeath. Now here's the thing, the Scourge and the Forsaken are two totally different things. One side are evil zombies possessed by the Lich King. The other side are sometimes evil zombies who are formerly the living citizens of Lordaeron. Also, ignore the fact that later on in history it was the Forsaken that wiped South Shore off the map with the exact same type of chemical warfare. You know, I'm sure they had some sort of explanation for the mass murder of innocents. Ignore that, okay? They're people too.
Anyways, a lot of things. Look, the Forsaken early on were kind of evil. I mean, they're not kind of. They were. They were, and I feel like a lot of that's tried to be retconned out, or oh, actually, no, don't remember that stuff. They're not that bad. They're just undead people. They are the Lordaeronian people, just brought back. They're still the same. Some pretty blasphemous shit has been some atrocities have been committed by them that we kind of ignore now because of that. It's kind of been retconned.
Alonsus and Calia become friends, and when we jump forward to the Legion expansion, Calia Menethil has learned to become a priest, and this is her first time appearing in-game. She's a part of the Priest Order Hall, but her story really doesn't develop that much from here. In fact, the first big push to really give Calia any sort of characterization was in the Before the Storm novel, a novel that bridges the gap between the Legion and Battle for Azeroth expansion. In this novel, Calia develops a friendly relationship with King Anduin Wrynn of the Alliance, and they organize an event called The Gathering. Now, The Gathering is a peaceful summit between the humans and their risen Forsaken relatives, who are now a part of the
This all
Horde.
occurred in the book.
Wow.
The only reference to this event ever occurring are some tombstones that now exist where the event occurred, but otherwise there is freaking no reference to this whatsoever, and most people don't even know this lore ever happened. Damn, look at that.
The two work to negotiate this event with
Great.
Sylvanas Windrunner, leader of the Forsaken and current war chief of the Horde at the time. Keep in mind, this was before the Fourth War, so Sylvanas isn't super crazy just yet. The Gathering was negotiated as a 12-hour ceasefire in Arathi Highlands in a field between Stromgarde and Thoradin's Wall. The meeting would be heavily monitored by both sides to ensure no funny business was going on.
Right.
And the whole thing gave Calia hope for her people. You see, Calia had no intention on securing her birthright and becoming the Queen of Lordaeron. All she wanted was for her people to prosper, whether they be living...
So she had a birthright to be queen. Maybe after Arthas died, that's how the succession was supposed to work. But I don't think it was a birthright just because the fact that she was the daughter of Tyrannus, right? Because Arthas was supposed to be the king. So I think it was the next son in succession. That's how it was supposed to work.
Or Forsaken. She attended the Gathering in a hooded disguise and was blessing humans and Forsaken alike. Although her disguise wasn't really that well done, and some of the Forsaken realized that she is Calia Menethil, the princess and now would-be queen of the kingdom of Lordaeron when they were alive.
Yeah,
sure, they have allegiance to the Banshee Queen, but this is their living royalty for light's sake. And the Forsaken that realize Calia's true identity just start walking towards Stromgarde where the Alliance were stationed. This inspires Calia, and in an act of passion,
she meant to do this shit. She did, for sure. This almost caused an all-out war, and Anduin was worried about this, and she promised him she was going to be disguised and no one would recognize her. All this stuff, again, happened in the book. And then she put on a hood and freaking let her face show to all these people, and they recognized her, obviously. So we got to remember, they grew up with her as a little girl running around in Lordaeron. And when they started doing what they were doing, she completely revealed herself. She almost scuffed everything up. A lot of this shit was her fault.
Moves her disguise and rallies for all of the Forsaken to defect to the Alliance, so they can all be free from the Banshee Queen's tears.
Yeah, she got shot.
I have no time for games.
This funny business totally goes against the rules of the Gathering. I mean, there's specifically a clause that states no funny business, and Calia just broke it. Speaking of which, after Sylvanas killed Calia, she then killed all of the Forsaken practicing in the event.
Yeah, she couldn't let them run back and tell the other Forsaken that their queen had just been murdered by Sylvanas.
Fleeing back to the Banshee Queen.
Let none survive.
She did this because she didn't want uncertainty of their loyalty brewing within the Forsaken, and it was much easier just to kill the Forsaken citizens involved in the Gathering. It's important to point out that the Dark Rangers only massacred their own civilians, not Alliance soldiers, as that went against the Gathering's rules. Well, except for one particular funny business in acting human. After the massacre, Anduin was quick to recover Calia's body and delivered her to the Netherlight Temple. Then, Anduin, Alonzus, and a Naru named Sara then used their holy light powers to resurrect Calia as a light-infused undead.
The first one... that sound effect. The first one ever in recorded history. Undead brought back not via necromancy, but by the light.
Because, apparently, that can happen. The light forcibly pulled her spirit back into her now-possessed body, which is different from normal resurrection. She is now an undead like her people. It's just that her version of being undead doesn't make you a disgusting, rotting zombie person.
Yeah.
Huh. How convenient. Calia's goal of helping guide her people would not happen until midway through the Battle for Azeroth expansion, when Sylvanas fully abandoned the Horde and the Forsaken to go to her own diabolic plans in the Shadowlands. During this time, Calia works with Lillian Voss, a prominent Forsaken figure, to assist her people. Next time we see Calia, she's standing around in Oribos in the Shadowlands expansion.
Yeah, this was one issue with Shadowlands. So many main characters. I mean, we all make jokes about Bane, too. Somebody just stood around in Oribos doing nothing the entire expansion.
Not really, doing much. Just hanging out.
Just chilling.
The expansion ends, and then she helps assist the Forsaken to reclaim Lordaeron after it was covered in blight during the Fourth War in the Battle for Azeroth. This process involves going to Maldraxxus in the Shadowlands, learning how blight works, and how necromancy is not necessarily death magic. Necromancy can be practiced by any of the schools of magic in the Warcraft universe.
Yeah, DK Myth, he's saying exactly what you're saying. And yeah, I guess I misspoke by saying necromancy, because yeah, it's necromancy via light, essentially.
That's why she's a light-infused undead. After Lordaeron
rather
and
than the typical death magic that we're used to seeing when it comes to raising the dead.
City are reclaimed, she later joins the Desolate Council, a group of Forsaken who are now the new leaders of the faction, and Calia worries about how the Forsaken may never really accept her. You know, her
nature, like vines reanimating a body, that's I imagine.
Being a beautiful light-forged undead, and also being the sister of Arthas Menethil, you know, the one that turned them all into undead in the first place. Yeah, she's kind of got a lot of baggage. After Alliance players participate in the questline to reclaim Lordaeron, Calia sends a letter on behalf of the Desolate Council to Genn Greymane.
King Greymane, the ally you sent to aid us was most effective. In return for your patience, I offer a gesture of goodwill. With the formation of the new Desolate Council, one of the first topics I intend to discuss is the withdrawal of Forsaken troops from Gilnean lands. This effort will take time, but I believe that we will come to an accord, and that both our kingdoms will see a brighter future.
In fact, Calia's goodwill would be stretched even further during the Dragonflight expansion, where the Forsaken helped the Gilneans reclaim their city, which is now currently inhabited by the Scarlet Crusade. And they helped them because, there's cross-faction gameplay now, so we all need to be nice to each other.
That's right.
And the Horde need to interact with this content update, too. Also, Tess Greymane, Genn Greymane's daughter, is now the new leader, and convinces her father that the Forsaken, they're actually not that bad, and they can be trusted, too. Calia is a character I think has a decent groundwork, but needs a lot of development in the future story of Warcraft, along with a more intertwined relationship with the Forsaken. Since the most pivotal moment of her story, along with a total reframing of what it even means to be undead, is done in a book and then has struggled to be explained in-game, I think it leaves a lot of sour tastes in people's mouths.
Yeah.
Also, she has to live up to the Forsaken's former leader, Sylvanas, who, let's be frank, had quite the controversial story development in the recent lore, but she's also one of the most iconic and beloved characters in the series. Calia being compared to a character that has existed since Warcraft 3, well, yeah, it's kind of hard to live up
Some
to that
tough
legacy.
boots to fill.
The crux of her personality being all about wanting to be accepted by the Forsaken and leading them to a prosperous future and be friendly to every other faction, even their mortal enemies, is a bit bland too. This defanging of previous faction rivalries is something that has been happening ever since cross-faction gameplay became a thing, and I think it hemorrhages the flavor of all of the main factions in the setting for the purpose of gameplay reasons. But really, this is a whole topic that I think deserves its own video. Point is, Calia is a character that I hope to see in the main story in Warcraft's future, and is developed further than the groundwork they have laid today. I don't know, give me a character arc of her struggling and helping guide the Forsaken as a force of good, despite them being totally uninterested in the concept. Like, give me a scene where she's like, Apothecary Death Spew, I've told you for the 10th time today, stop kidnapping gnomes for your blight experiments. I'm trying to work on
It's okay. Yeah, it's all right. You can keep doing that. We don't care on the Alliance about the gnomes. Don't worry about it. Well, what I would say is that what I would like to see out of Calia is some type of rebuilding of Lordaeron. I would. I understand the undead right now, they live underground, but even the undead, I would think, would like to live above ground, right? They're not this these creatures to be feared anymore. That's at least how it's described in game, and they're supposed to be more accepted now by society. So part of that acceptance should be coming to the surface, right? Living in their city once again, rebuilding the ruins of Lordaeron, so I can go see it in game, because that's what I want to do, selfishly. But yeah, I would also think it'd be a pretty cool story to see it happen, and Calia lead that rebuilding, and maybe have flashbacks of, you know, playing with her brother in the yard after it's rebuilt, or conversations with her father in the palace rooms, you know, like these kinds of things, just to flesh out that lore more, because in terms of World of Warcraft, we've never really seen it. Yes, it happened in Warcraft, you know, in Warcraft 3 and stuff like that, but in our game, in World of Warcraft, it's never been the greatest human civilization to ever exist. We've never seen it. Never seen it. Only ever seen its ruins.
peace negotiations with the Alliance, and you're ruining everything!
Another good one from Platinum WoW. Always good. Always good. Step Arthas, come and play. Oh my god. Oh shit. Wasn't exactly what I meant, City, but yeah, maybe we could do that too. I'm sure that will play out. Great video from Platinum WoW, as usual. Yeah, whether or not we're going to see Calia do more, I would think so, going forward. I mean, she has kind of established herself as one of the co-leaders of the Undead. And we'll see how things go forward. Rebuilding cities has been a real theme right now. Gilneas coming back. The Night Elves got their city. There's even conversations about the Goblins getting their city back. So, why not? Why not rebuild Lordaeron? That would really be cool.